In the grand castles of the Middle Ages, a hidden world labored in silence, servants who rose before dawn and vanished into the shadows of history. Their hands built the glory of lords, yet their names were never spoken, their lives forgotten, but never truly gone. A bell tolls in the dim morning fog, its sound slips between the cold stones of the castle courtyard, each echo fading like a prayer swallowed by mist. The air is thick with the taste of damp ash and iron. The smell of last night's fire clings to the walls as if the stones themselves have inhaled smoke and will not release it before the lords awaken. The world beneath them already stirs. Shadowed figures rise from straw pallets, cloaks worn thin against the biting frost hands. Red and raw from icy water, they move in silence across the flagstones. Like ghosts condemned to labor, each step careful, each glance hidden, for to be seen too fully is to invite danger. Their lives are tethered to silence. A boy no older than 12 staggers beneath the weight of a basin filled with water drawn from the well. The rope burned his palms as he hauled it upward, yet he carries it still. His shoulders bent under its pull. Beside him, a girl scarcely older balances a wooden tray stacked with bread loaves, the crust still steaming from the oven's breath. Her arms tremble, but she does not falter, for faltering is forbidden. Neither child speaks. Their silence is a language sharper than any word. This is a world of rope-pulled buckets and iron keys, keys that open doors. They will never step through stairways that rise upward to chambers of warmth and luxury, yet always deny them passage. Their realm is below, in kitchens where smoke coils around hanging meats salted for the long winter, in chambers where cauldrons hiss and the air stings with onion and blood. The cook's knife strikes bone with ritual precision. Its rhythm, the pulse of this hidden world, the servants know. These rhythms, more intimately than prayer for prayers, belong to masters. Their own prayers are locked in the chamber of the heart, unspoken for too many words. Draw notice, and notice is peril. They serve in hunger, half-fed, half-seen, their bodies driven by duty, not desires. Dawn filters through stained glass windows, casting colors upon tapestried halls. The lords awaken to warmth and ease, their chambers glowing with the labor already spent hours before. No master will ever feel the sting of frost-bitten fingers gripping icy buckets. No lady will ever bend beneath the ache of carrying loaves through the cold. No noble will ever understand the exhaustion stitched into every servant's back, yet the noble life depends entirely upon if the servants linger like shadows stitched into fabric, unacknowledged. But impossible to remove. Their absence would bring collapse, yet their presence is never honored. They are faceless, yet vital. Each dawn, a resurrection of duty, each night a burial of self. Listen closely to the sounds of their world, the rattle of iron pots, the splash of water on stone, the shuffle of worn leather shoes across damp floors. These are the sounds that carry the castle, not the lute's song, not the laughter in banquet halls. It is the cough of a scullion, it is the groan of a laundress wringing frozen linen, it is the muted breath of a stable boy as he calms a restless horse. Before dawn, theirs is a life of endless repetition, but within that repetition lies a quiet endurance. The boy carrying water learns strength, not measured in swords, but in survival. The girl with bread learns balance, not of courtly grace, but of burdens. Unending, their world is stripped of luxury, but it is not stripped of meaning. For each hidden task sustains the illusion of grandeur. Above yet danger coils always near a misplaced glance. A word spoken too loudly, a task done too slowly, may summon the steward's wrath. Punishment is swift, sometimes a beating, sometimes a ration. Withheld, sometimes dismissal into the cold. Where survival is near impossible, obedience is survival. Invisibility is protections. Still, within the silence, there flickers something more in the corner of the kitchen. A hand quickly offers a crust of bread to a younger child in the servants' hall. A song hums low while rushes are scattered on the floor, a tune too faint to be heard by masters, yet strong enough to remind the weary that they are alive. Even small rebellions of kindness pierce the darkness like candle flames, but their names are not carved in chronicles. They are not etched in the stained glass of chapels. Their graves lie beyond consecrated ground. If graves exist at all, many vanish into the earth without marker there. Lives measured only by the work they performed for others' history. Remembers lords who feasted and priests who prayed, but the hands that built the feast, the backs that carried the altar, those remain unseen. Imagine the tolling bell fading into the morning, its sound dissolving as the castle fully awakens. Nobles rising to robes of fur and velvet, laughter echoing from the great hall, and yet beneath that splendor lies the cost already paid by unseen lives. The water fetched, the bread baked, the floors scrubbed, the fire coaxed back to life, their sacrifice woven invisibly into the fabric of Donan. As the castle breathes in its luxury, the servants vanish again into silence, faceless, vital, forgotten, each one carrying the weight of a world that refuses to name them. Their story lingers in shadows, waiting to be told. The bell's final echo dies in the mist, and with it the hour passes, but another summons will come, another command, another dawn. The hidden world continues, while above the halls shine brighter than ever, never knowing that their light is fed by shadows. Yet, in the stillness between bells, one may wonder what becomes of those who live unseen, when their bodies falter, when their strength fades, when the silence swallows them completely. For history has no ink for their names, but without them the story cannot stand. And it is there where the next truth begins. A wooden door creaks open in the pre-dawn dark, the hinge moaning like a secret never meant to be told. The cold air seeps in like a blade against the skin, and the stone corridor breathes with the smell of damp wool and smoke inside. The narrow servants' hall rushlight candles sputter against the draught, their flames trembling, their smoke painting the beams in strokes of gray. Shadows bend and stretch along the walls like restless spirits. Say, young woman bends to lace her shoes of rough leather. The soles patched so many times they scarcely hold. She ties them with a strip of frayed cord, her fingers stiff from the cold. She is called by no name here, no name that belongs to her. Only by task washer scullion made the syllables of her existence. Our duties, not identities, beside her. An older man rubs his hands before the embers of last night's fire, the cracked skin of his palms glowing red, each scar a map of endless toil. His breath rises in shallow clouds, his body marked by decades of labor, yet still tethered to the same rhythm. Their lives run not on hours or choices, but on bells and commands. Each toll pulls them forward, each silence holds them still. The castle breathes through them, its hearths fed, its robes mended, its floors scrubbed until their own reflections mock them from the stone. Above the walls shimmer with tapestry and candlelight. But here, in this hall, only coughs echo, only the scrape of wooden spoons against thin porridge fills the air. They eat quickly, hunched over the bowls, their heads bowed before the Lord's rooster crows for the world beyond. Their bench belongs to others. The bread they chew is coarse, blackened at the crust. The porridge thin, watery, and clinging to the sides of the bowl like ash. Each carries the scent of labor on their skin, the sharp tang of lye, the musk of sweat-soaked wool, the bitter smoke of hearths that never rest yet. Even in the shadow of duty there flickers a quiet rebellion, a glance exchanged when masters do not look, a crust of bread slipped to a starving child, a whispered prayer muttered too quickly to be caught in the air. These are their bonds, deeper than any oath sworn in chapel above. Their loyalty is not to lords, but to each other, their kinship built on silence and on stolen fragments of kindness still. When they vanish into service, their footsteps swallowed by the long corridors. History does not follow. They are as water poured into stone, absorbed, unseen, forgotten. Their lives leave no record. Their deaths leave no monument, yet their absence would break the world above, for, without their hidden hands, no feast would be laid, no robe would gleam, no chamber would shine here. The sounds that tell their story, the hiss of water poured into a cauldron, the slap of wet linen against stone, the steady scrape of a broom, bristles worn thin, the sigh of a servant hauling buckets up the stair, each sound a testament to their endurance, each sound a hymn to their invisibility. The young woman who laces her patched shoes carries more than leather and wool upon her feet. She carries a lineage of toil passed from mother to daughter. She will rise and bend as they did before her. Her hands raw, her back bent, her voice silent, yet her strength never spoken. The old man with scarred palms is the living archive of labor, the years etched into his skin like scripture, no parchment records him, yet his body is a testament to survival above. In the Lord's chamber, laughter soon echoes, tapestries glow with scenes of saints and battles, goblets shimmer with wine, yet none of it is possible without the unseen world below. It is the silence of servants that fuels the noise of nobility. It is their hunger that feeds the feast, their toil that polishes the glory, their suffering, the unseen tax that sustains the illusion of grandeur. And yet, within that silence, something lingers, more powerful than stone. It is resilience. It is hope pressed into the smallest gestures. The girl who hides a crumb for her brother. The man who hums a hymn while sharpening knives. The maid who risks a glance toward the window, yearning for the horizon. These are rebellions too small for history to record, but vast enough to keep their humanity alive. Candles in the servants' hall sputter, lower, the wax dripping like tears across the iron stands. Soon the rooster will crow, soon the bells will toll again, and they will scatter into their endless duties. The wooden door will close behind them, the draft will vanish, the hall will fall into stillness, and history will not remember the moment, but the castle will remember through its warmth, its robes, its polished floors, sustained by those who never spoke their names, aloud as the morning deepens into day. The unseen kingdom continues, faceless, vital, forgotten. A hidden world built on silence, and from that silence, a question lingers. What becomes of those who give everything, yet leave nothing behind? Where do their voices go when their bodies vanish into dust? The answer waits in the next turning of the bell, and the next breath of those who serve unseen. A frost settles heavy on the cloistered yard, each blade of grass stiff as iron. The morning air bites with a silence sharp, enough to cut from the kitchens. Comes the thud of cleavers and the hiss of boiling cauldrons, the sharp sting of onions mingling. With the copper scent of blood smoke drifts low across the stones, clinging to cloaks and hair, until everything smells of labor and fire. At the doorway of the hall, a boy crouches low, balancing a stack of trenchers cut from stale breadcrumbs scatter from the rough loaves falling like pale snow upon the ground. His back aches, though he has not yet seen 15 winters. His thin arms tremble under the weight of the food. He will never taste his breath clouds before him. Yet he dares not pause, for stillness is punished in another chamber. Women bend over tubs, their sleeves rolled to the elbow, their arms plunged deep into freezing water. They scrub linen until their nails split, until their skin bleeds red against white cloth. The sound of wet fabric slapping stone rings through the cellar like muffled bells, echoing a rhythm older than their voices. The air stings of lie, their bodies bent until bone protests, yet the cloth must gleam spotless, for stains on linen mean shame upon their heads. This is the cadence of their world work that never ends, work that erases the worker. Their names fade, their faces blur, they become hands, only hands, scraping, cleaning, carrying, lifting, until the castle itself seems to breathe through their flesh. Above, in gilded chambers, the noble family prays in Latin before a jeweled altar. Incense rises in delicate curls. The words of Scripture echo through vaulted ceilings, yet below in the shadows, the servants' prayers are silent, whispered into sore hands, into bent knees, into wounds that never heal. They pray not for salvation, but for endurance, not for eternity, but for one more. A chambermaid moves swiftly across the corridor, her arms burdened with bundles of rushes. She scatters them upon the floor, their dry crackle masking the stench of rot. Her every motion careful, rehearsed, yet unworthy of notice. She quickens her pace, for should the steward enter, she must lower her eyes. She must bow her head, her posture a script written in fear. The rules are endless, each one a chain, invisible, yet heavy. They wear no crowns yet. Their shackles of obedience bind tighter than iron. Speak only when spoken to, eat only when allowed, move only when unseen. Their very silence a condition of survival. And yet within this silence there lingers defiance. A crumb slipped into a hungry palm, a whispered word in the dark, a thread sewn into a cloak that tells of care, not command. These quiet acts are rebellions woven into duty, small sparks against the great shadow of power. Still history spares no parchment for their names. The chronicles of kings and wars drown them in silence. They pass in the margins like ink, spilled and blotted out. No bard sings their stories, no scribe records their deaths, yet their existence lingers, carved into the texture of daily life. A cloak stitched against the cold, a broom that clears the filth, a loaf cooling by a windowsill, unseen yet enduring. The boy with aching arms vanishes into the hall, his trenchers set upon the table where lords and ladies will feast, his crumbs brushed away as if they were never there. The women in the cellar wring out their bloodied cloths, the sting of frost biting into raw skin. The maid with rushes slips back into shadow, her labor consumed and forgotten. all vanish back into silence. But in the hush between the tolling of bells, in the space where no command is heard, one might almost hear them breathing still, a multitude unseen, their strength poured into stone and wood, into bread and fabric, into fire and warmth. They gave everything and vanished into dustin. As the frost melts from the yard and the day begins to burn with noise and color, the question lingers: what is a kingdom without those who hold it together, unseen and unnamed? What becomes of the world when its foundation is built on silence? This silence will carry us forward into the next chamber, into the next breath of this hidden life where shadows work while history looks away. The night breathes with the weight of smoke and hunger, and the walls themselves seem to shiver as the last candles drip their lives away in iron mouths that do not care for the darkness they leave behind. Servants drift through stone corridors like wraiths clad in wool, their steps muffled by rotting rushes that have soaked up too many winters of ash, sweat, and wine. A chamber pot is carried downward, its sour steam clinging to the man's hair as though it too refuses to be forgotten, while another stumbles beneath a bundle of firewood heavier than his hollow bones. No herald will call their names, no harp will weave their tread into song. They are born into silence, and silence takes them back like a mother who cannot afford to grieve. In the kitchen's embers cling to their fading red as if ashamed of dying, and a boy bends low, fanning them with a breath so weak that the ashes rise to choke him, his throat scarred with heat and dust until blood glistens on his sleeve. The cook does not turn. She has seen too many coughs and too many bodies bent over the same fire. Her knife keeps moving, her hands never slow, for to falter is to starve. This is the creed of those unseen, to guard the flame until their lungs collapse, to carry water until their backs break, to labor without question until the grave becomes the first true rest above them. The castle yawns awake to celebration. The spit turns with fat dripping fires, his flagons of ale foam and spill gold in the torchlight, and laughter already swells to fill the vaulted hall. But here beneath the smoke none will taste the feast. Their bowls hold only the bones that have been boiled twice until marrow gives up its last ghost, the crusts softened in cold water to trick the belly into believing it has been fed. Yet their bodies endure, bent but unbroken, their lives a scaffold of strength, carrying the weight of a wealth they will never, claiming a chamber where damp never dries. A washerwoman wrings linen until her wrists swell red and her veins throb with the strain, her arms trembling with every twist of cloth. No lord will see her pain, no stone will mark her grave. Her monument is only the faint crack of linen, snapped dry in air, heavy with mildew. She too is swallowed by silence, her toil buried deeper than the grave itself. And while the great hall above resounds with the thunder of laughter, with the pounding of goblets on oak, with the shouts of men whose bellies know no hunger, the world below sinks further into obscurity. Every cheer from the Lord's table is built upon backs that no song will remember. Every shimmering tapestry is stitched from lives worn to threads. Servants are shadows, and shadows are their chains. They move unseen and unheard, yet their silence is the mortar that binds the castle, their breath the hidden wind that keeps its banners aloft. Without their endurance, no fire would glow, no hall would shine, no lord would sit in splendor. Yet their reward is to vanish Like smoke swallowed by the night, the torches gutter, the hall trembles with feasting. But in the stillness below, someone prays not for glory, not for land, not for triumph, but only for morning to come without sickness, without lash, without hunger. The prayer rises no higher than the beams blackened by smoke, but it lingers in the stone, as if the walls themselves weep for those who will never be seen. The feast above roars louder still, a storm of voices that cannot hear the quiet world. Beneath them yet every cheer hides a shadow. Every golden goblet drips with the sweat of those whose names are already lost. And as the echoes fade into the cold stairwells, into the dark kitchens, into the servants' narrow cots, the silence grows, heavier, waiting, like a tide that will one day rise. For what happens when the shadows no longer hold the weight? What happens when silence breaks its vow and the unseen find their voice? The night does not answer, only the wind in the tower whispers, carrying the question upward toward the feasting hall, where laughter drowns all things, and downward into the crypt, where silence waits eternal land. So the tale bends toward what follows. The silence of servants leads into the secrets kept by lords. For where one life is erased, another is carved in blood and stone, and soon we will step from the shadows of labor into the hidden chambers of power, where whispers cut sharper than any sword. A rooster cries against the pale horizon, and the sound cuts through the mist like a blade through cloth. The servants stir before the sun has dared to climb, the sky wrapping themselves in cloaks that smell of damp straw and smoke from last night's dying fire. The stable groans with life, though no master walks its floor. Sweat and dung mingle in the air as horses stamp against the frozen earth, their hooves striking like war drums against the morning silence. Grooms bend low, their hands stiff from frost, their breath rising in clouds like pale ghosts clinging to the rafters. Every shovel that cuts the muck is a prayer of survival, unspoken, yet heavy with need. By the river a laundress kneels where ice seals the black water she strikes it with fists, raw and trembling skin blue with cold, yet still she breaks through plunging linen into the dark current. Each gasp is torn from her chest like a sacrifice, each movement a devotion. Her cracked lips whisper nothing, but her body prays. Through labor the water steals heat and blood from her flesh, but still she works, knowing that the stains of lords and ladies must vanish. Though the pain of her hands will not. Above her the castle rises, banners snapping like whips in the windstone, walls glinting pale against the weak light of dawn. It is a citadel of power, towering with majesty, yet built upon the broken shoulders of those who labor unseen. No feast could be held, no sermon heard, no war waged without the backs of the invisible. Bending silently beneath inside, a scullery maid drags heavy buckets across stone, slick with frost. Her thin arms, trembling beneath the weight, soot streaks her face like war paint, though her war is against hunger and cold, not against sword or shield. She wipes her brow with a sleeve frayed by years, though she has seen so few herself. Her life, bound not to adventure nor glory, but to the endless turning of dawn into dusk. She has never seen the forest beyond the walls, never touched the sea, never known freedom. Her body stitched into the fabric of servitude, like a thread lost in the pattern of a grand tapestry. The bell rings heavy across the courtyard, its toll rolling through air thick with smoke, and breath. Mass is called, and the great lords ascend toward the chapel wrapped in silk and fur. their steps slow with dignity behind them. The ladies trail cloaks sweeping the stones, jeweled hands folded like painted saints, yet the servants do not follow. They linger outside, barred from kneeling beside their masters, their prayers unwelcome within walls of sanctitous till. They bow their heads, their lips cracked with cold, their words whispered into the bitter wind. Their prayers rise unheard into the vaulted sky like smoke from smoldering fires vanishing into air. No priest carries them, no altar bears them, but still they climb unseen, for faith is not owned by lords alone. It rests within the hearts of those who labor, unseen hearts that beat even when silenced, hearts that burn though pressed beneath shadow. These lives pass without record, their names lost, their stories erased with each season. The maid who carried water, the groom who shoveled dung, the laundress who bled into the river, the boy who stoked the fire. None will be carved into marble nor inked upon parchment, yet their unseen hands shaped the rhythm of life, each stroke of labor. A mark pressed into the stone of history, though no chronicle preserves it. Like shadows carved upon the walls, they remain unseen, but never absent. And so the castle stands, its towers proud and banners bright, but within its strength echoes the hidden strength of the invisible. The question lingers like mist at dawn, who truly built the world of kings and priests, who bore the weight of their splendor and kept their power alive. The next chapter whispers the answer in silence, for beyond these walls the fields call the villages. Rise, and the endless toil of the many feeds the glory of the few. In the gray breath of dawn, the castle sleeps, yet does not sleep. Its towers rise through the mist like sentinels carved from the frozen earth, their outlines shivering in the pale light of morning frost. The courtyard lies hushed, no hoof, no shout, no clash, only the brittle silence that comes before the world stirs within the low quarters, where the ceilings sag with smoke and damp. The air is heavy with wool and sweat and the faint rot of straw. A girl knots her hair with trembling hands, the strip of cloth fraying like her hope. Her belly twists with hunger, yet she knows the bread will pass first through noble hands. The scraps left behind might reach her lips if fortune does not turn against her. Beside her, a boy bends over a whetstone, his arm moving steady and slow. The knife edge whispers against stone with the sound of a funeral song. He sharpens, not for war nor for pride, but for duty. The blade will carve meat he will never taste. He feels the sting of hunger deeper than the edge he grinds, yet his face shows nothing, for to reveal is to risk the lash. The steward's cry shatters the stillness, his voice cuts through the chamber like iron striking bone. Orders hurled without mercy scatter the young, the old, the weary. They vanish into corridors like mice chased from their nest. The kitchens erupt in flame spits grown beneath the weight of roasting flesh. Fat drips hissing into fire, smoke curls thick and bitter clinging to skin. The heat scorches and blinds, yet no hand falters, no eye wanders, for the kitchen is a battlefield, its soldiers armed with ladles and knives, each mistake a wound, each hesitation a mark remembered by the steward's gaze. Above the fire's beds are stripped rushes, scattered chamber pots carried out with silent hands, every task rehearsed through generations, the same movements repeated like chants in a liturgy where no prayer is answered, mistakes punished in shadows where screams cannot carry beyond stone. This is the dance of invisibles, the unending circle of service. They rise, they labor, they kneel, they sleep, only to rise again. The castle consumes their youth, their strength, their laughter, and leaves them nameless when the earth reclaims them. They will not lie within consecrated ground, for that soil is guarded for masters. Their bones will rest beyond walls where weeds grow tall, and the wind speaks for them yet. Even here, in the weight of silence, a spark of life stirs in hidden corners when the steward's back is turned. A girl hums softly while scrubbing a pot. Her song carries like a secret flame, warming the ears of those near enough to hear. A boy dares a grin while sweeping rushes, and another hides a crust of bread to share with a friend behind the stair. These moments are fragile, like frost that melts when touched, yet they are enough to remind the weary that they are still. Human history may not mark their names, no ledger may honor their labor, yet their breath fills the stones, their sweat oils the gears of survival. Their laughter whispered behind doors is a testament stronger than banners or crowns. For the castle's heart beats not in the lords who dine, but in the hands that feed them. Unseen in the hush between footsteps, their silence lingers. It waits within the cracks of the walls, within the creak of the stairs, within the faded warmth of straw, as if the stones themselves remember. And as the day unfurls with the clang of iron gates and the thunder of hooves above, the servants retreat to the shadows where they belong, nameless but unbroken. Their world a circle without horizon, yet still alive with hidden songs. The torches will be lit, the halls will shine with gold, and voices will rise in feasting, yet none of it would breathe without the hands in darkness. They are the pulse that keeps the flame alive, though no one dares to speak their truth aloud. So when the night falls again and silence cloaks the towers, their whispers remain, waiting for those who would listen, waiting for the next tale of those who live unseen beneath the weight of stone.